10 habits are quietly poisoning your life, and most of them have become so natural that you no longer notice the damage. The ancient Stoics identified these exact patterns over 2,000 years ago, and they developed a ruthless system for eliminating them. Today we break down all 10 so you can stop being a slave to your impulses and start living with a level of intention that most people will never reach. Pay close attention to habit number 7 because it is the hidden cause of almost all modern anxiety, and understanding it will change how you see your daily struggles. The first habit you must quit immediately is seeking approval from others, because this desire turns you into a permanent slave to the opinions of people who do not even know you. Epictetus once taught that if you want to improve, you must be content to be thought foolish and stupid by those around you. This means that true growth often requires you to step away from the crowd and stop caring about whether others validate your choices or understand your path. When you live for likes and praise, you are effectively handing the keys to your happiness over to a fickle public that can change its mind at any moment. You spend your energy curating a perfect image on social media or choosing a career path that sounds impressive at dinner parties, while your actual internal state remains neglected and hollow. The Stoics understood that your character is the only thing that belongs to you, and everything else is an external factor that should not dictate your worth. By seeking validation, you are putting yourself in a position where your peace of mind depends on a thumb up or a kind word from a stranger. This addiction to approval prevents you from taking the risks necessary for a meaningful life, because you are too afraid of looking incompetent or being judged by people who are just as lost as you are. Living for external validation creates a cage where you constantly check the bars to see if they are still there, and you lose the ability to speak your own truth. You might find yourself agreeing with opinions you do not hold, or suppressing your natural interests because you think they are not trendy enough for your social circle. This behavior is a form of self-betrayal that leads to a deep sense of resentment over time, because you are living a life designed by other people. Epictetus encouraged his students to embrace the awkwardness of being an outsider, because the person who tries to please everyone ends up pleasing no one and losing themselves in the process. Think about how much time you spend thinking about what a coworker thought of your comment, or how many times you checked your phone to see if a post was performing well. Every one of those moments is a moment where you are not in control of your own mind. You are essentially letting the world vote on whether you are allowed to feel good about yourself today. To break this habit, you must establish your own internal set of standards that are independent of what the world thinks. When you stop asking for permission to be yourself, you gain a level of power that no amount of followers or public awards can ever provide. The second habit that is draining your life force is complaining about things that are outside of your control. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that you have power over your mind and not outside events, and realizing this is the source of all true strength. When you complain about the weather or the heavy traffic or the rude behavior of a stranger, you are essentially admitting that you have no agency over your own internal state. You are acting as if the world owes you a smooth experience, and you become a victim of circumstances that you cannot possibly change. This wasted energy could be used to solve problems or to build your own character, but instead it is thrown away on frustration that achieves nothing. Complaining is a signal to your own brain that you are helpless, and it reinforces a mindset of weakness that will spill over into every area of your life. If you spend your morning grumbling about the rain, you have already decided that the day is going to be bad before it has even begun. This habit makes you a magnet for negativity, and it pushes away the very people who might actually be able to help you improve your situation. But wait until you hear number 5, because that habit is even more destructive to your relationships than complaining. The Stoic approach to difficulties is to look at every obstacle as a chance to practice virtue rather than a reason to lament your luck. When a coworker is rude to you, it is an opportunity to practice patience. And when the technology fails during an important meeting, it is a chance to practice composure under pressure. If you view these events as personal attacks from the universe, you will live in a constant state of agitation. Marcus Aurelius spent his life dealing with plagues and wars and betrayals, yet he focused his writing on how to maintain a calm mind amidst the storm. He understood that the event itself is neutral, and it is only your judgment of the event that makes it good or bad. By quitting the habit of complaining, you reclaim the energy that you used to spend on being a victim, and you turn it into a tool for self-mastery. Instead of asking why this is happening to you, start asking how you can respond to it with dignity. This shift in perspective is what separates a person of character from someone who is simply reacting to the world like a leaf in the wind. You cannot stop the wind from blowing, but you can certainly adjust your sails to make sure you stay on the course you have chosen for yourself. The third habit you need to walk away from is chasing instant gratification, because it turns your life into a series of cheap thrills that leave you feeling empty. Seneca warned us that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it on things that do not matter. In our modern world, we are surrounded by dopamine traps like endless scrolling and junk food and impulse buying that provide a quick hit of pleasure followed by a long period of lethargy. This habit of seeking the easy path and the immediate reward weakens your discipline and makes it impossible for you to achieve anything of lasting value. When you choose the comfort of the couch over the challenge of the gym, you are trading your future health for a temporary moment of ease. The Stoics practiced delayed gratification not because they hated pleasure, but because they valued their freedom. They knew that if you are controlled by your cravings, you are not a free person. You are just a biological machine responding to stimuli, and the Stoics refused to live that way. Real happiness comes from the satisfaction of doing something difficult and seeing it through to the end, rather than the fleeting high of a digital notification. By constantly reaching for the next distraction, you are effectively hiding from yourself and your own potential. Every time you feel a bit of boredom or a bit of stress and you reach for your phone, you are teaching your brain that it cannot handle even a few minutes of quiet. This makes you fragile and dependent on external stimulation to feel okay. Seneca emphasized that we should use our time wisely because it is the only resource we can never get back. Money can be earned and lost, but once an hour is gone, it is gone forever. If you spend your hours chasing temporary highs, you will eventually look back on your life and realize you have nothing to show for it but a collection of forgotten distractions. Quitting the habit of instant gratification allows you to develop the muscle of self-control, which is the foundation of all Stoic success. When you can say no to the cookie or the mindless scroll, you are telling yourself that you are the master of your own house. This builds a deep sense of self-respect that no amount of consumer products can buy. The next time you feel the urge to indulge in a quick fix, stop and ask yourself if this action serves the person you want to become or if it is just a way to escape the present moment. The fourth habit is something almost everyone does every single day, and it is the act of comparing yourself to others. Marcus Aurelius told us not to waste what remains of our lives in speculating about our neighbors, because doing so takes our focus away from our own internal progress. In the age of the internet, this is harder than ever because we are constantly bombarded by the highlight reels of thousands of people. You see their vacations and their promotions and their perfect families, and you compare that polished image to your own messy reality. This is a recipe for misery because you are comparing your behind-the-scenes footage to someone else's edited trailer. This habit makes you feel like you are falling behind, even if you are doing perfectly well by your own standards. Comparison is the thief of contentment because it creates an artificial competition where there are no winners. Even if you reach the top of your field, there will always be someone younger or wealthier or more famous to compare yourself to. The Stoic path is to focus entirely on your own path and to measure your progress against the person you were yesterday rather than the person someone else appears to be today. When you focus on what others have, you are essentially telling the universe that your own life is not enough, and this creates a state of perpetual lack. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the world as the Emperor of Rome, but he still had to remind himself not to get caught up in the status games of the court. He knew that the opinions of others were just noise, and that his only job was to be a good man in the present moment. If you can let go of the need to measure up to your neighbors, you will find a level of peace that is unavailable to those who are stuck in the rat race. Your value is not determined by your net worth or your job title or how your life looks to an outsider. Your value is found in your character and how you treat people and how you handle the challenges that come your way. By quitting the habit of comparison, you free up a massive amount of mental energy that can be directed toward your own growth. You can finally start enjoying your own wins without wondering if they are big enough compared to someone else's. You become the sole judge of your own success, and that is the only way to live with true confidence and stability. The fifth habit you must stop immediately is holding grudges and carrying resentment toward those who have wronged you. Marcus Aurelius famously stated that the best revenge is to not be like your enemy, and this is a powerful reminder that becoming bitter only hurts you. When you hold on to anger, you are carrying a weight that the other person does not even know exists. The resentment sits in your mind and colors your perception of the world, making you irritable and closed off. The person who hurt you has likely moved on and is not thinking about you at all, but you are still giving them power over your emotions every time you replay the injury in your head. Letting go of a grudge is not an act of weakness or a way of saying that what happened was okay. It is an act of extreme self-interest because it frees you from the control of the person who harmed you. You are deciding that your peace of mind is more important than your desire for retribution. Stoicism teaches us that people act according to their own nature and their own flawed understanding of the world. If someone is cruel, it is because they are suffering from a sickness of the soul, and reacting with more cruelty only spreads that sickness to you. Forgiveness, in the Stoic sense, is about acknowledging that the past cannot be changed and that your anger is an additional burden you do not need to carry. Marcus Aurelius often noted that we are all part of the same human family and that we are designed to work together rather than against each other. If you spend your life keeping a tally of every slight and every insult, you are choosing to stay trapped in moments that have already passed. By releasing your resentment, you clear the path for more positive emotions, and you regain the ability to see people as they really are rather than as caricatures of their worst mistakes. This doesn't mean you have to trust the person again or even keep them in your life, but it does mean you stop letting them live rent-free in your head. You reclaim your emotional autonomy and you decide that no one has the power to make you miserable without your consent. This is a vital step in building your inner fortress because it ensures that your happiness is not dependent on how others treat you. When you can look at someone who wronged you and feel nothing but a quiet understanding of their flaws, you have truly mastered yourself. The sixth habit that is holding you back is waiting for the perfect moment to start something meaningful. Seneca warned us that while we wait for life to begin, life actually passes us by, and we end up at the end of our days with nothing but a list of things we intended to do. Procrastination is often just a form of cowardice disguised as planning or preparation. You tell yourself that you need more information or more money or a better situation before you can take action. But the truth is that the perfect moment never arrives. The Stoics were very aware of their own mortality, and they used the concept of memento mori to remind themselves that they could leave life at any moment. This awareness did not make them depressed, but rather it gave them an intense focus on the present. If you knew you only had a year to live, you would not spend months waiting for the stars to align before starting that project or having that difficult conversation. You would act now because now is the only time you actually possess. The habit of waiting is a habit of denying your own life, and it is one of the most common ways that people waste their potential. Action is the only cure for the anxiety of waiting, and even a small, imperfect step is better than a lifetime of perfect planning. Seneca pointed out that we often treat our time as if it were infinite, while we are incredibly stingy with our money, which is the exact opposite of how a wise person should live. You can always make more money, but you can never make more time. Every day that you spend waiting for a better opportunity is a day that is gone forever, and it will never return. The Stoics believed that duty and action were the hallmarks of a good life, and that we should do what we can with what we have right where we are. This means that you don't need a massive plan to begin, you just need the courage to take the first step. Whether it is starting a business or learning a new skill or repairing a relationship, the best time to start was yesterday, and the second best time is right now. By quitting the habit of waiting, you stop being a spectator in your own life and you become the lead actor. You will find that once you start moving, the path often clears itself in ways you could never have predicted while you were sitting still. This next habit is responsible for more suffering than almost anything else, and it is the habit of overthinking and worrying about the future. Seneca noted that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality, and this is especially true in our modern era of constant news and uncertainty. You spend your nights lying awake, thinking about all the things that could go wrong, or wondering if you will have enough for retirement, or worrying about what someone might say tomorrow. Most of these fears will never come to pass, and even if they do, your worry did nothing to prevent them or prepare you for them. Anxiety is like paying interest on a debt that you might not even owe. It drains your energy and steals your joy from the present moment without providing any benefit in return. The Stoics practiced focusing only on what they could control in the current moment, and they accepted that the future was out of their hands. They understood that no amount of worrying could change the outcome of external events, but it could definitely ruin the quality of their current life. To break the habit of overthinking, you must learn to distinguish between productive planning and destructive worrying. Planning is a rational process where you look at what actions you can take today to prepare for tomorrow, while worrying is an emotional loop that serves no purpose. Seneca taught that we should meet the future with the same weapons of reason that we use to handle the present. If a problem arises in the future, you will deal with it, then just as you are dealing with your problems now. There is no need to experience the pain of a potential future event multiple times in your head before it even happens. By staying grounded in the here and now, you maintain your composure and your ability to make good decisions. You realize that most of the monsters you are fighting are just shadows created by your own mind. When you stop overthinking, you gain a sense of clarity and lightness that allows you to move through the world with much more ease. You start to see that the world is not as scary as your imagination makes it out to be, and that you are much more capable of handling challenges than you give yourself credit for. The eighth habit you need to quit is trying to control other people, because it is a complete waste of your time and energy. Epictetus advised us to make the best use of what is in our power and to take the rest as it happens, and this includes the actions and opinions of others. You cannot change how your partner thinks, or how your boss behaves, or what a stranger says on the internet, no matter how hard you try. When you try to force others to conform to your expectations, you are setting yourself up for constant frustration and conflict. You are essentially trying to play God in a world where you are only a human being. This habit often comes from a place of insecurity, where you feel that you can only be happy if everyone around you behaves in a certain way. But the reality is that everyone is living their own life based on their own perceptions, and you have no authority over their choices. Trying to control others is a form of arrogance that ignores the basic Stoic principle that our only true power lies within ourselves. Instead of trying to fix other people, you should focus all of that energy on fixing your own character and your own reactions. If someone is being difficult, your job is not to change them, but to decide how you will respond to them with virtue. You can set boundaries and you can offer advice, but you must release the attachment to the outcome of their behavior. When you stop trying to control others, you will find that your relationships actually improve because you are no longer putting the pressure of your expectations on the people around you. You allow them to be who they are, and you take responsibility for your own happiness. This creates a much more peaceful environment, and it saves you from countless unnecessary arguments. Epictetus was a slave for much of his life, but he was more free than most kings because he knew that no one could control his mind. If you can reach that level of internal independence, you will no longer care if people agree with you or like you or do what you want them to do. You will be free to focus on your own growth and your own purpose without being weighed down by the choices of others. The ninth habit is living in the past and dwelling on your regrets, because the past is an external event that is now completely outside of your control. Marcus Aurelius wrote that when you are disturbed by things, it is not the things themselves that trouble you, but your judgments about them, and this applies powerfully to the past. Many people spend their lives looking in the rearview mirror, thinking about the mistakes they made or the opportunities they missed or the people they lost. Every moment you spend in regret is a moment stolen from the present, and it is a complete waste of your potential. The past is identical to the weather or the traffic in the sense that you cannot change it no matter how much you wish you could. Replaying your failures in your head does not make you a better person, it just makes you a more miserable one. The Stoic perspective is to treat the past as a library of lessons rather than a prison of shame. You look at what happened and you extract the wisdom, and then you shut the book and return to the task at hand. Dwelling on the past is a way of hiding from the responsibilities of today, because if you are focused on yesterday, you don't have to face the challenges of now. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the only life any of us has is the one we are living at this very moment. Your past self is essentially a different person, and you shouldn't let their actions define who you are today. If you made a mistake, you acknowledge it, and you do what you can to make it right, and then you move on. You don't serve the world or yourself by carrying around a heavy bag of guilt for years on end. By quitting the habit of living in the past, you allow yourself to be reborn in every moment. You realize that you have the power to choose your actions right now, regardless of what has happened before. This is the ultimate form of Stoic freedom because it means that you are never stuck. You are always at the beginning of the rest of your life, and you can choose to make it a life of virtue and purpose starting this very second. This last habit is the hardest to quit, but it might be the most important thing you hear today because it is the habit of avoiding discomfort and always choosing the easy path. Seneca taught us that difficulties strengthen the mind just as labor strengthens the body, and he believed that a life of total comfort was a dangerous thing. When you always seek the path of least resistance, you become soft and fragile, and you lose the ability to handle the inevitable hardships of life. You become like a hothouse flower that withers at the first sign of a breeze. The Stoics practiced voluntary hardship like taking cold showers or fasting or sleeping on the floor to remind themselves that they could survive and even thrive without their usual comforts. They knew that the things you avoid are exactly the things that will set you free because they build the discipline and the resilience you need to face any challenge. If you are afraid of discomfort, you are a slave to your own biology, and you will never be able to achieve anything great. Choosing the difficult path is how you prove to yourself that you are in control of your own life. When you do the thing you are afraid of, or the thing that is physically or mentally demanding you, expand your boundaries and you realize that you are capable of much more than you thought. Seneca pointed out that no one is more unhappy than a man who never faces adversity because he never gets to know his own strength. By quitting the habit of seeking ease, you turn your life into a training ground for excellence. You start to look for challenges rather than avoiding them, and you see every difficult situation as a chance to grow stronger. This mindset shift changes everything because it means you are no longer afraid of the world. You know that whatever happens, you have the internal resources to handle it. The things that once terrified you become just another part of your training. This is the path to a life of true meaning and power, and it starts with the simple decision to stop choosing the easy way out. These 10 principles are not just ideas to think about, but actions you must take every day to reclaim your peace of mind and your personal power. By quitting the habits of seeking approval and complaining and chasing gratification and comparing yourself to others and holding grudges and waiting and overthinking and controlling others and dwelling on the past and avoiding discomfort, you are clearing away the clutter that prevents you from living a truly great life. Stoicism is about taking responsibility for your own existence and realizing that you have everything you need within you to be happy and effective. It is a philosophy of action, and it requires you to be honest with yourself about where you are failing and where you can improve. You have the power to change your life starting today, but it requires you to let go of the behaviors that have been holding you back for so long. If you found this helpful, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can join our community of people who are dedicated to living with more wisdom and strength. Take these lessons and put them into practice, and you will see that the world around you begins to change as your internal state becomes more solid. Check out the video on screen for more Stoic insights that will help you build your inner fortress and navigate the challenges of the modern world.